A report in local Ukrainian media reports that a sniper from the Azov unit thwarted an infiltration attempt by a group of Russian motorized troops in the eastern sector of the front line. This information is still awaiting official confirmation from Ukrainian military authorities. According to sources on the battlefield, the incident occurred in the Donetsk region, when several Russian troops reportedly attempted to penetrate defense lines using motorcycles for rapid mobility. Such operations are often used for reconnaissance or surprise attacks on enemy positions. Spokesman for the Ukrainian National Guard has not yet issued an official statement regarding the report, but emphasized that Ukrainian troops continue to defend their positions with high effectiveness and that any infiltration attempt will be met with a decisive response. In modern warfare in Ukraine, snipers play a crucial role in holding positions and disrupting enemy movement. With their precision fire, they can suppress enemy mobility and protect infantry units from sudden threats. Snipers are usually positioned at strategic high points or hidden points. They work with terrain intelligence and scouts to monitor enemy movements, said independent Ukrainian military analyst Oleksandr Kovalenko. Fighting in eastern Ukraine continues at a high level. Both sides report motorized patrols and small attacks almost daily. While some areas have stalemated, small-scale operations like these demonstrate that the front line remains dynamic. The use of motorcycle units by Russian forces is not new. This tactic allows for rapid maneuvering in open terrain, but also carries a high risk of targeted attacks, especially from experienced snipers. Reports of Azov snipers successfully thwarting a Russian motorized infiltration highlight the still high tensions on the Eastern Front. While details are still being verified, this incident reiterates that the Ukrainian war continues to be fought at a high level of tactical intensity, where speed, precision, and discipline are key factors. Despite Russian triumphalist announcements of encircling Ukrainian defenders in Mirnohrad and Pokrovsk, Ukrainian Special Operations units, deployed by General Kirilo Budanov, have systematically dismantled infiltration groups throughout the area. Geolocated footage shows Ukrainian forces actively clearing Russian troops from Rodinsky, while elite units captured Russian operatives in Pokrovsk, proving the supposed encirclement never materialized. Here, the Russians hurried to announce an alleged encirclement of Ukrainian forces in Mirnohrad, but this proclamation of victory came a little too soon. Ukrainian special forces have just conducted one of the most extensive clearing operations around the town, eliminating Russian infiltrators and keeping the supply routes secured. The Russian Ministry of Defense triumphantly announced that its forces had successfully encircled the Ukrainian defenders in Mirnohrad. According to Russian state media, troops advancing from Rodinsky had captured the settlement, and with Russian infiltration groups penetrating deep in Pokrovsk, they had allegedly cut off all supply routes and placed Ukrainian logistics under fire control. Russian Chief of General Staff Valery Gerasimov even reported to President Putin that the encirclement of Myrnorad and partial encirclement of Pokrovsk had been achieved. Russian military analysts celebrated this as the first major non-traditional assault successfully carried out under conditions of Ukrainian drone dominance. They praised their infiltration tactics, calling them a systematic and precise operation that forced Ukrainian drone operators to retreat far enough to stop being effective. But even in their triumphalist rhetoric, contradictions abounded. Russian analysts claimed that while Ukraine's elite brigades had supposedly escaped from the encirclement, the remaining troops would still be difficult to eliminate as Ukrainian drones continue to supply them. At the same time, they alleged that Ukrainian drone operators were pushed away, a claim immediately disproven by their own soldiers. A video filmed by Russian troops in Pokrovsk showed the sky swarming with Ukrainian drones, more than a dozen visible at once, hovering and hunting for targets. Within hours of the Russian claim, Ukrainian drone operators released geolocated footage of how Ukrainian units are actively clearing Russian infiltrators from Rodinsky, obviously spoiling an encirclement that never materialized. Although small Russian assault groups had indeed reached the outskirts and briefly entrenched in several abandoned houses, they never managed to dig in. A Ukrainian BTR-4E armored vehicle from the 14th Chervona Kalina Brigade entered the settlement under the cover of reconnaissance drones, identified enemy positions, and opened fire with its 30mm cannon. It pursued the infiltrators through several streets until all were eliminated, sparing Ukrainian infantry in the settlement the trouble of clearing the Russians out themselves, before safely withdrawing to rear positions before Russian drone units could respond and target the vehicle. The brigade later confirmed that Rodinsky remained under Ukrainian control, and that cleanup operations were continuing. This exposed the Russian announcement for what it was, another premature declaration meant to please political leadership rather than reflect battlefield truth. Meanwhile, the fight inside Pokrovsk itself took a dramatic turn. Addressing the increased activity of Russian infiltration groups into parts of the southern and central districts, the Ukrainian command deployed its most capable hunters, the Special Operations Units of the Main Directorate of Intelligence. Acting on the direct orders of General Kirilo Budanov, special forces arrived to coordinate with regular Ukrainian brigades and begin counter-sabotage sweeps across the embattled town. Within the first hours, they captured several Russian operatives, including members of Russia's own main directorate of the armed forces, highlighting just how valuable this axis is to the enemy command. Drone footage soon surfaced showing a Ukrainian operator camouflaged among trees and ambushing a lone Russian soldier advancing down a local road. The encounter ended swiftly with the elimination of the Russian, showcasing the close-quarters nature of combat in the area, and how Russian soldiers are told the same lies of the town's capture, resulting in zero tactical awareness of Ukrainian soldiers still controlling Pokrovsk. Ukrainian intelligence units continue to work alongside airborne and mechanized troops, clearing basements, warehouses, and the outskirts, eradicating small Russian groups before they can regroup. Overall, despite the continuing heavy fighting, the Russian narrative of an encirclement has already collapsed. The Ukrainian General Staff confirms that while the situation remains difficult, decisive actions have been taken to prevent any isolation of Ukrainian forces. Once again, Russia's generals appear to have oversold their progress to the Kremlin, but Ukrainian elite units are dismantling those illusions. With the tightening of the defensive perimeter, the supposed Russian encirclement has turned into another failure for Putin's generals.